Candidate Ron Paul, he's out with the new book, The School Revolution, A New Answer for Our Broken Education System. Harold Ford and Brian Shackman back at the table as well. Congressman, it's always good to see you.
Thank you.
Just talking about life on the outside. You retired and got busier, it sounds like.
Yeah, people say, have you really retired? And I don't think that's a good term. I can say that I've retired from Congress.
Right.
I've left Congress.
You're still working hard. We want to get to your book in just a second, but obviously, given your position on the Fed over the years, I want to ask you about the front page news in almost every newspaper this morning. Fed stays on easy money course. Quantitative easing continues. What's your take?
Well, I'm not surprised, but the markets were certainly surprised yesterday. But I think it's a major admission by Bernanke that things aren't good. You know, the fact that he's doing this and all the markets anticipated, well, maybe the economy has improved. He's literally saying we're in bad shape. And yet the markets didn't interpret it that way, because the markets are reflecting just that easy money going into stocks, but it doesn't help those 99%, or at least the large middle class and the poor. It won't help them one bit. They're still going to have trouble getting jobs. But so there's a lot of disconnect here. But I think it was a very, very bad announcement yesterday that the economy is a lot worse off. And I think in time it'll prove to be the case.
But aren't we in a situation where if the Fed cut this stimulus money, we might be worse off?
Well, it can't get worse. I mean, to continue to destroy a currency is always bad, always bad. It always destroys the middle class, and the wealthy get wealthier. And this is the prediction of Austrian economics for, 100 years. And this is exactly what we're witnessing, those predictions that the wealthy get wealthier and the poor get poorer and the middle class gets wiped out. So, no, all inflation is bad. This idea that the Fed can create money out of thin air to satisfy special interests and the politicians who like to spend money, it always leads to trouble, except on the surface, a lot of people feel good about it. During the bubble phase, a lot of middle-class people felt good about it. They were buying houses. And house prices were going up until the inevitable bust came. The wealthy got bailed out, and the average person lost a job and lost their house. So it's never good, even if you feel good for a while. Right now, only the rich are feeling good, and the poor aren't doing well, and the middle class is getting much poorer.
What's the most important thing that can be done in the short term to help raise middle class incomes, to raise incomes across the board? And what's the most important thing long term? Government business combination can be done.
The short term is really very tough. If you wanted to say on the short term, if you wanted to intervene and had to intervene, you should have given the money to the poor people, let them pay for their mortgages, don't bail out the rich, which I wouldn't have advised. But on the short term, you could have done that. Long term is the only thing you can do is you have to decide whether you want a few men, maybe women, involved in secretly deciding what the interest rate should be. The interest rate, if people don't understand how important the interest rate is, they can't solve this problem. For the middle class or anybody, you have to have savings, you have to have interest rates. That's the message to the business community. But we don't have interest rates other than what is dictated, by a few people. And they're always wrong. They're always wrong, and they always will mislead. And that's why even yesterday is more misleading us on what's really happening.
So you have that artificial manipulation of rates, and we know your opinion about the Federal Reserve. But if you could pull the levers right now, because you can't just go cold turkey, right? I mean, specifically, how would you get to the point where you could adjust it to a more normal assessment of what the rates
Well, see,
be?
the cold turkey argument has merit to it, because it would be tough.
It would be a real shock to the short-term system.
But the alternative is a calamity, like the bankruptcy of a whole country, like a city can go bankrupt, like we see, like a Detroit. So you're not really comparing, an easing down and a smooth transition or having a really tough thing to cut back. So there is no easy. There's no political answer. It's addiction. The people are addicted to spending. The politicians are addicted. The markets are addicted. And there's no chance that they're going to wean us off. And this is what Bernanke was saying yesterday. And the politicians aren't going to balance the budget next year. Matter of fact, what we have been taught for nearly 100 years is that's stupid to balance the budget. Because what you want to do is you want people to spend money and borrow money and print money. That's the thing that we have been taught
they don't
for
really
a long,
believe
long time.
We can go bankrupt. No one really believes it in the populace that we can actually go bankrupt. So it's a reality they don't actually assess when they're looking at the economy, because they don't believe it can happen.
You're absolutely right, and that's why we're naive and